Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters, or Mikaela Peters as they call me in Finland. Today I want to talk about my experience going to Neuvola this morning and talking to lots of different people from different teams that exist here in Finland. And wow, it's been so interesting because the way that all of this works is so different than in the US. I have to say it is so hot here, and there was this Instagram meme I saw about how people in the Nordics, when they have, the 3 days approximately of warm weather, and then they're just like praising everything that exists because they're so happy. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I could relate, but I partially wanted to really be in Finland this summer because I knew it wasn't going to be as hot. So there's that. But anyway, yes, I did not record yesterday because I was too tired. And as I was explaining on my other channel already today, I'm at this point where it feels like all I'm doing is sleeping and eating an inordinate amount of food. So I guess that's really my body preparing to do the thing. But anyway, at this stage, this late of a stage in pregnancy, going to your Neuvola appointment is literally just like, the baby still has a heartbeat, the baby's still in there, how big is the baby, they check your hemoglobin, you do the pee test, and everything is good. Yeah, everything is good. And now I'm at the point where if I have not already given birth by like next week, then I'm supposed to go to the hospital. And apparently induction is not as common in Finland as it is in the US because in Finland they're a lot more natural. But, they're going to send you to the hospital to kind of check to make sure everything's okay. Now, the confusing thing is I was given two different due dates. My due date in Finland was on Friday last week, and my due date in the US was yesterday. So technically, I don't really feel like I'm that late because anything between 39 and 41 weeks is normal. But either way, this is something that's happening. But yeah, it is so hot right now. I'm probably going to go swim in the lake soon. So with my hair, I'm trying to conceal the fact that I'm wearing the same bathing suit as in my last video. But anyway, during this Neuvola appointment, they had the family care team, I think, come in and talk to me, and their purpose is to offer emotional help and also some level of practical help. So like they'll come to you at your house and like make sure things are fine, and you can change the baby and do normal things, or yeah, basically that. So there's one team, and then they also sent the social services team to my house. And then there were two different people with that one. There was oh gosh, what were they? They're just also wanting to like make sure that you have adequate support, and they work a little bit closely, I can't speak today, closer with the family child supervisor, which is who you're supposed to go to in these issues where, it's not a very stable situation, which is kind of where I'm at right now. And it's really interesting because, and like people are going to be like, wow, that's so terrible. But like, it's just kind of true that like in Finland, like they really care so much about you as an individual. And this is like not something that you're used to being in the US because everything is so profit driven in the US. And so the thing I kept explaining to these people is I was like, my decision to come back to Finland for the birth, even though it was very hard because my like support family system is in the US, was because of like I didn't want a C-section, and I didn't want to like have to try to advocate for myself in the middle of literally being like out of my mind, and then having somebody else call the shots for me in a way that I felt like was going to be disrespectful to my body. It sounds kind of dramatic, but again, just based on things I've explained with how doctors' visits go in the US versus in Finland, they're just a lot more like trying to encourage you to do natural things in Finland versus in the US it's very like trying to push medicine on you so that they can make more profit. And it's sad, but like, it's just unfortunately like a reality of, existing in each of these places. So, that was a big part of it. And then they feel very strongly about like establishing paternity and letting the baby, it's like best for the baby to like have the right to know who the parent is, because I was like, I'm still like unsure of if this is really a good idea or not, mostly because the way it works in the US, and this was very interesting, and my American friend is currently visiting with me, she actually works a lot with this kind of stuff for her job, is that in the US there's usually an assumption that guardianship and paternity go hand in hand. Whereas here, you don't necessarily have to allow for a guardianship if you establish paternity. So, and in fact, in a lot of Finnish situations, if there's a woman who's like, I don't know who the dad is, they're like going to actually put resources into trying to figure out who the dad is, even if you're not like pushing for it. So it's very interesting, like, again, just like how much care they have and like how they really just want you to be successful and they really care about the kid. And they're like, we have plenty of instances with single parents where the kid is fine. And actually, sometimes what happens is the kid will get older. And when they actually have the opportunity to have a relationship with their dad, if their dad comes back 10 years later and is like, hey, kid, I want a relationship with you. A lot of times the kid is like, I don't care anymore, go away. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. So, it's really hard for me to understand how that's going to like look or work. My friend who's visiting me actually grew up without her biological father, but grew up with a stepdad who was like her dad to her. And actually my mom grew up the same exact way. So, I think that you can still be relatively successful in that situation. This was something one of my Finnish male friends was like, just go find another dude because the kid's going to be too young to remember. That's pretty difficult for me at this point because I'm like beyond not interested in that. But that is something that happens. And the thing he said, and I really liked this, was that, it's better for the kid to have like one good relationship with one parent than to have like bad relationships with both parents. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So he's like, just focus on being a good parent yourself and like the rest should fall into place. And I really appreciate that. And I agreed with that. But yeah, I mean, it's just so amazing, like how much they really like love and take care of kids here. They give you the baby box, they give you all these services, and it's just so crazy. Like I did not even know that this existed somewhere, and they really just really care about you. And it's like a culture shock thing, I think, coming from the US where everything is like, you're kind of fending for yourself, you're out on your own. This is a very like disdainful situation in the US, I would say, whereas in Finland, I don't want to say it's normal, but it's probably more normal and accepted than in the US. Even things like just discussing mental health issues openly, and I have not talked as much about that on this channel yet, but that's something that, me kind of understanding and acknowledging my own mental health challenges was something that I was not able to do until I came to Finland because, part of it's generational, but part of it is growing up in a family where all of those things are kind of like buried in a vault, in an emotional vault, if you will, and growing up watching family members like use alcohol to cope with emotional problems rather than, seeking out proper psychiatric care and going on medication or, going to a therapist or like things that are actually going to lead you to resolving your problems more productively and once and for all rather than, just kind of like coping with them in an unhealthy way. And don't get me wrong, like I do believe that people in Finland still probably drink instead of coping with their problems. But in general, like one of the things I have so much appreciation for is how openly mental health issues are discussed. And that was another thing that happened during this meeting is like, we have reports that you have a history of this, this, and this. And, like, how are you managing with these things now? And I was like, fine, because I'm no longer in the US dealing with things that I did not want to deal with while I was there. And, I also explained like, right before I came back, I went to a therapist and I said, I'm worried about, one of the fear mongering things that was happening with my family. And even some of my friends are like, I'm worried about if you start having a breakdown that nobody's going to be there to help you. It's just, I got to a point where I realized I was feeling more emotionally stable and supported being here, even if the people were not my family. It's like the whole chosen family thing. And yeah, I mean, then I went to the therapist and I'm like, said this, and she's like, look, you know how to get help, you know how to go see a therapist when you need one, you know how to go to a psychiatrist if you need one. Like, I have like every ounce of faith in you that, is that even a phrase? Not really. But she was like, I basically have faith in you that you will go rectify these issues yourself if you want to, basically. So like if you need to, and if you feel like it's the best thing, because she's like, your baby wants you to be happy. And then I was like, started crying a little bit, but yeah, like, cause that is basically the best thing for the kid is like when the parent is feeling really stable. And yeah, like it's a really hard thing to like admit to yourself that just getting away from things that are challenging for you and feeling like misunderstood and not supported, like in the ways that I get that, like, I don't feel supported in the ways I want to feel supported, but like sometimes you need to feel supported in certain ways. Like it's a need, it's not even a want at that point. So like I kind of just like for myself knew that like I needed to have this. And the thing that they were saying this morning at the Neuvola with this family baby team is they're like, oh, we hope like you're gonna have a really good experience, like you and your baby, with like being in the hospital, and if you have any concerns, make sure you're telling the midwife. And like again, it's just like the level of care and like time and attention and support that they give you here, it's just like it could make me cry. It's literally so nice. Like, oh yeah. So I'm really like looking forward to this experience a lot, in a way, even though like obviously it's very scary, it's life changing, and I keep saying like I've never had a kid before, like I don't know how I'm going to feel after it. So I do understand like PPD, like postpartum depression, can be a problem for people who have struggled with mental health issues in the past. One of the things though that like I'm hoping will help is like you have so much sunlight in the summer here in Finland, and then also like if I can just get outside and go in nature and like go for walks with the baby pretty regularly, like that will all make me feel good. And then I have tons of friends, because it's summertime, who are not in school and not doing much, who will probably go for walks with me because, why not? So I think it's going to be okay. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily having like anxiety around it, but it does get to the point at the home stretch where you're like, I just want this to be done. Yeah. But anyway, they're going to keep checking in with me. Other things that are really funny, that we went over at Neuvola today was like, I'm like, so I heard that like it takes a while to name your baby. Also, the other thing is like the baby defaults to the woman's last name, and the dad would have to technically adopt the baby to have the dad's last name. And I think that's even if you're married, or if you're married, I'm trying to remember now because it didn't apply to me. Like how you get the dad's name on there. But she's like, yeah, so basically you're going to go home from the hospital and it's going to be like Peter's girl, because I'm having a girl, and it's like Peter's Tuotta. And I'm like, that's funny. Okay, so you can try to expedite the name. It goes through the population services, so DVV. It's really funny to me. You get a social security number before you get a name here. Like, it's just so crazy, because at the U.S., in the U.S., you name your kid at the hospital, and that's the name. And then apparently, if you're giving your kid a weird name, you have to explain it, because like, hey, I'm foreign, and in my culture, this name means this, and this is why I'm choosing this name. So it's another thing that I'm like potentially gonna have to do. And then I'm worried about like expediting the passport, because I have plans to go back to the US to like present the baby to my family, sometime like some months from now. So I'm trying to make sure all this like gets done, but I'm like, okay, the baby staying inside for longer is not really helpful, because like I want to get these things done. So yeah, it is weird, like kind of coming from a situation where everybody's so anxious and being like, you need to do this and you need to do this and you need to get this done. And then it's just sort of like, right now I'm just like chilling, and I'm trying to like just appreciate the moment and not be stressed out. But it's kind of like, I was living in survival mode for like some months, so this is a very weird feeling, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm going to try to enjoy it, because I think relaxing is probably good for the baby. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm super appreciative of this experience, and like it just reinforces to me that like this was the complete right decision. And that was actually what one of the social workers said today, where she's just like, I think this was a good decision. And I'm like, thanks, me too. So, again, it's just like, I don't really have any other words to express this experience besides appreciation. And I'm really excited, like, because they asked you this at like the Neuvola today. They're like, how are you feeling about like meeting your baby? And I was like, no, I'm excited. Like, I'm actually very excited. But I'm like, it's also like scary, the process of getting there. I was watching a video yesterday with my friend, and the thing I found interesting is that apparently your body's producing so many drugs like naturally during the childbirth phase that in between contractions you basically just feel like you're high or something. And so that can be a little bit like hard for you to like get dressed or like do like normal people things or go eat or whatever. And that's actually one of the ways that you can know if you're in like true versus false labor is you're supposed to do like 4 things. I learned this in one of the classes I'm taking with my grandmother because this is what she does for work. Eat, sleep, take a shower. Oh, there's one more. Things like go for a walk. I think that's what it was. And if you're still kind of like, then it's probably, yeah. But then you have to wait till they're 4 minutes apart, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. But it's getting to a point where it's really awkward. People keep asking me, like, oh, you know, what's happening? And I'm like, literally nothing. Boring. Okay. Well, anyway. Thank you for your continued support of my channel. I was thinking to try to do like a Finnish video, but like my brain was really not working in that way today. So that didn't happen. So I'm just talking about the Neuvola appointment, my last Neuvola appointment. And it was such a good day. I got all that done, but then I had to take a nap. And then I'm going to go to sauna, which I'm still doing because, well, I go in for like 2 minutes and then I sit outside. So it's a very weird version of sauna. So outside is already a sauna, you know, so it's not really helping too much. But yeah, so that's everything that I have, and I'm super excited, and I actually am pretty excited to like share my experience about like what this was like after, because to be honest, I was trying to find a lot of videos previously about women in Finland who were foreign who had a birth experience, and it was hard to find some. So, you know, I would like to share that also at, you know, some point. All right, well, thank you for your time and attention, like I said, and your support of my channel. And yeah, I'm surprised how popular this content has been already. All right, until next time, bye.